I am so excited to be bringing you another interview today. I'm going to be talking to the lovely Jenny De Lacy, and we will be chatting all things ADHD, of course, what it's like to be diagnosed with ADHD later in life. Jenny's going to share her ADHD hacks, and we will talk about how one of my questions really confronted her view on ADHD. But you'll have to keep listening to find out whether I manage to change her views or not. For those of you who don't know me, hi, hello, I'm Lorna, and you're watching Accidentally Awesome. Hello, Jenny. Welcome to Accidentally Awesome. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
No, you're very welcome. Now, we were just having a quick chat before we started recording here, and you're getting yourself organised.
Sorry, I just realised that my microphone's not plugged in, so let's start that. How terrible of me. I just totally forgot.
I know, how shocking. Imagine an ADHD person not being completely 100% organised at the start of something.
I was too busy talking to you and I forgot about the microphone. So let's start that again.
That's all right. We'll leave it in because we are who we are, aren't we? So we connected through a Facebook group, which is great. We both have, do you have ADHD or ADD?
ADHD.
Mm-hmm. And is it combined or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm combined as well. And you have a business called Talking Digital. And I was having a quick look at your website today, and there was a bit of it that just caught my eye and absolutely cracked me up. Lights, camera, lipstick. I was like, that's brilliant. That's so funny. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and how you got started in it?
Yeah, I'm 54. So my kids, I've been a solo mum for 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids are now 22, 19 and 18.
Mm-hmm.
But back 20 years ago, I have always worked as a learning and development specialist. I'm a communication specialist. That's my thing really, and a trainer. Mm-hmm. And then Hunter came along and I went back to work fairly quickly. And then I was doing jobs that really played to my strengths because I was facilitating and training and thinking on my feet and stuff that there was no detail in what I did. It was like the dream job. And then towards Hunter probably was at primary school and I started a more permanent job, and I lasted a while, but I finished up there in 2009 because it was just too much detail, too many meetings, too many having to listen to people that I didn't want to listen to, and no filter to listen to them. So I sort of got myself into trouble a few times, just sort of being too blunt and telling senior managers what I thought of them and things like that.
I've done that,
which of course doesn't work.
I guess it depends.
And then I ended up doing some more contracting and gave it up.
Yeah,
I had to look after my kids because I realised I couldn't manage particularly my eldest son, and the other two by myself and work in contracting. So it was 2014, and I thought, I think I want to be a copywriter because I write all the time for audiences anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm good at communicating, and I think I want to be by myself, which of course isn't true, but at the time it was.
Yeah, and doing something like that, it's constant change because I've got a marketing background and I've done copywriting, and it's good because you are getting different projects coming in that are testing you, that are hyperfixation and are we can go down the rabbit hole and look into what they're wanting us to talk about, and that sort of job's quite easy for us, isn't it?
And learning, because you're learning all the time.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody today about I know a lot of women who have ADHD that have consistently tried to learn new things because we like learning, but we don't trust ourselves to know all the stuff. So we keep looking for answers to things, and it actually kind of suits us to do it. My Achilles heel probably would be a really long-winded website that is too detailed that I lose interest in after 2 weeks, and to make me finish those jobs is really tough. And so I have very specific.
So have you got parameters around what jobs you take?
Yeah.
And was this before or after you knew you had ADHD?
actually after, because in the past, I've just always done things in the moment because they feel good, and I get a lot of joy from presenting, and I'll create a video or I MC something, and of course I just haven't been able to make that earn a good enough living.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I took a permanent part-time job with a digital agency, and that's when I realized that all these things were coming to a head, that this attention issue of keeping time and feeling so distressed that I couldn't actually tell you what I did in the day.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I don't know, but 8 hours have gone. But surely it didn't take me 8 hours to write that blog post. It can't have. I must have done something else. Yeah. And then trying to find the rabbit, the breadcrumbs to go back and find out, what did you actually do with that time?
Yeah.
And just feeling just repulsive about it, and then writing something in 30 minutes and going, well, why can't you do that all the time?
Exactly. But did you know at that point that you had ADHD?
No. So I had I thought it was anxiety, and I've seen my GP, and obviously at my age I'm been well
menopause as well,
for a long time. Yeah. And he said I went on hormone replacement therapy, and that was really positive.
Good.
But they don't leave you on it for very long. You sort of come off it, and then you might go back on it, and they stuff around with you, and it's just shit. And actually part of that diagnosis story is really relevant, I think, to lots of us, where we've reached out for help in the past but haven't been able to get it and don't quite know what we're asking for. We're usually there for our kids, I think, and then
I think you're right.
I'm really nervous to ask,
because I've always known that there was something different about the way my head worked. Couldn't put my finger on it. I had anxiety as a child. It got worse as a teenager. Left home and went to uni. It got worse again. So I did 2 years of primary teaching and went, this is not for me. I left, took a year out, changed my degree, went to business and social studies. So I did psychology and sociology. And I met my husband at uni. But it's always been an issue. So I saw my GP, I saw a therapist to start with when I was younger. I had occupational therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, group therapy. That was actually really good.
Me too.
I think group, it normalizes what you're feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it makes you feel less alone. Did you feel like that with it?
For me, it was, I started sort of in my early 20s thinking, oh, I've really got to, I don't know what's going on here. But it was when I had kids.
Yes, that's when the wheels fall off, isn't it?
A shocking postnatal depression, which I'm kind of whispering because they're here.
Oh, right, okay.
Not that they would care. With my eldest, and then when my second came along, it was worse.
Yeah.
And that's when I just happened to have the right GP by then.
Right.
And he was the one who said, hey, there's this program at the Austin Hospital that they're doing in a pilot program for women with postnatal depression to work together, and it's CBT based.
Yeah.
And I went and did that, and I remember that being hugely beneficial to me. But then by the time I started going to family therapy, when I had all three of them, I might have been pregnant with Ollie, with number 3. I remember saying, I really need help. It's just chaotic. I'm not coping. I want, support from whatever. And them just constantly not really doing anything. And I'd be like, yeah. And I just think, how different would my life have been if somebody had recognized it then?
But back then, I mean, I'm just a little bit younger than you. I'll be 50 this year. Back then, when we were at primary and high school, girls didn't get ADHD. It just wasn't a thing. And even as we got older, I don't think that they thought it presented like that in women either. It's only been in the last, recently, really, that a lot of women are getting diagnosed. I was listening to another podcast this morning, and it's like, like your social conditioning to try and just get on with things and do it. And, they say that women are far more prone to this than men. And I had to laugh because she'd actually came out with a really funny quote, which was, is my house a mess because I've got ADHD, or am I just a feminist? I was like, so true.
Oh my God.
Is it social conditioning or is it something else? And I think it's taken them a while to realize that, yes, women do get ADHD. Yes, we have the same symptoms as men, but it can present in very different ways. So how did you get to the point that you felt it might have been that?
Probably towards the end of 2018, I had anxiety that I'd never experienced before. And I started to just be really aware that I wasn't doing things. I don't have people over because I can't get the place ready for anybody to be here.
Yep.
I'm late for everything. And I just started to be annoyed with the things that with these repeated behaviors. It didn't even occur to me that it was ADHD. I had no concept of that particularly. I just remember feeling quite depressed that, what the bloody hell is wrong with you? Like, you're smart.
And overwhelmed. Yeah.
And you can't get anything finished or done, or here you go again. And then there's that self-trust thing, because if you've been told that you have no self-discipline for a long time, you kind of just go, wow, that you are so lazy and you just need to be more disciplined and da da da. And I'm like talking like my late father to myself, which was horrifying. And then the pandemic happened, and so we were home all the time, of course. And I could not sit. I realized that I cannot sit still. And I'd never noticed it before, but I've been like it always.
Recently doing the videos that it's hair. I keep touching my hair.
I do this in meetings all the time with my hair, all the time. And I had somebody in the room, like in a meeting where some of them are in the room together and some of us were on Zoom. And one of them messaged me and said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What?"
So sorry, you were saying that you had somebody message you.
I was in a meeting with people, and they were in the room and I was on Zoom, and there was a number of us on Zoom. But one of the people in the physical meeting texted me, because I was up on a big screen with other people in the, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, it's like you have ants in your pants kind of thing. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, this is what I do in every meeting that we're ever in. You've just probably never noticed it before.
But it becomes more obvious when you're on a screen, doesn't it?
And that's why I draw while I'm listening. I'm always I'll be drawing something on a piece of paper on, my notebook, so I can.
Do you know, my son and daughter both do that. My son's teacher is quite happy. He sits there and draws and doodles. And I said, "How do you know he's listening to what you're saying, though?" She says, "Well, the other day I got something wrong and he corrected me."
Yeah.
And I was
That's how I pay attention. That's how I, and I remember somebody saying to me,
because we need to be physically busy.
It's like, if I can't keep that occupied, I'm definitely not listening to you, sort of thing. But that sort of symptoms, particularly the attention, staying on track, being able to track my time, and recognizing how many times a day I get up from my desk and I go somewhere else to sit and work, and then I forget the things I needed to get, so I have to come back and find them. And then when I come back to find them, I do something else other than what I was supposed to be doing, and so it'll take me 2 hours when I.
So when you got your diagnosis, did all of this sort of fall into place for you? That you realized what was going on?
I guess so. I remember I wanted to sort of comment a little bit about what the diagnosis process is like in Australia, because it takes such a long time. And it's varied. You're kind of really depending on having the right GP. Because if your GP isn't on board, you've got to find a new GP to do things.
And you have to go through that whole thing.
And I was really nervous to go to mine. I was really nervous to go and say it to him. I think I might have this, and can you help me? Because I thought he's going to say, oh, no, you haven't, or just invalidate, how I was feeling or something. So anyway, I went in there and I thought, when has he ever done that to you? I've known him 20 years. He's always amazing. So I went in and I said, this is what's been happening and I'm feeling pretty crap. And I said, I know you're going to say that it's trendy. And he said, it is trendy. And I said, it's trendy because we've been so underdiagnosed for so long. And he said, I will do whatever you want me to do to find whatever support you need. Go find the psychiatrist that you can find, and I'll do the paperwork and I'll make it happen. So he didn't say, don't do it. But one thing he did say that is really fascinating to me, and this is kind of a rambly way to answer that question about things falling into place. He said, don't try and tie everything up in a neat little bow. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
And he said, so yes, you struggled at school, but you love learning and you want to be good at things. So you got through school and you were never going to fail or get, I used to get kicked out of class all the time, but I still enjoyed it and got through and, so I guess when things start falling into place, I'm still in the position of saying, is that what that is? Is that feeling like I'm not participating in my own life, looking from the outside in? Is that part of that? Or
this is it. I had an absolute freak out yesterday morning, and I don't know if you saw it on the Facebook group. And I'm like, I feel like my head's going to explode. I've got loads of meetings this week for one thing and another. I just want to go back to bed. And immediately the ladies in the group were like, that's overwhelm, Lorna. It's overstimulation. It's a thing. So of course I looked it up. And there's a number of different ways that overstimulation can be. And now I've forgotten why I'm telling you that. So I get it. It's like, you might have this diagnosis, but that doesn't mean you know everything.
We're still trying to work it out, right? Like we still want to go. And one of the questions that was on the list you sent me was what is awesome about ADHD? Like, what do you think is awesome? Yeah. And I got really sort of upset about that question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I rang a friend of mine and I said, I don't think anything is awesome about this. Like, I feel distressed most of the time. I feel shit most of the time.
Yeah.
So how could we say that there is anything awesome about this, right? And she was like, no, hang on. So she said, and she was diagnosed a few years ago and had a really brought back literally from the precipice in real life off the side of a cliff kind of thing. Anyway, she said to me, which bit in particular? And I said, well, if you say that my ability to be in the moment and think on my feet and be able to control, or not control, but facilitate a whole group of people, no matter how big they are, that I absolutely 100% trust, that's the only time I trust myself 100%. If you tell me that is ADHD and not just Jenny being awesome, that's going to shit me. And she was like, well, she goes, no, well, everyone has different symptoms.
Yes.
And she said, think about those times where you are capable of creating a tutorial video in 2 minutes.
Yep.
And it goes up on Instagram or it goes wherever, and you've thought of that idea in that moment, created it straight away and posted it. She said, that is an awesome part of the way your brain works.
That is an awesome part of it.
And I was like,
that's why we're called accidentally awesome, because we can't make ourselves be awesome. We are awesome by accident because of the way our brains work. And that is an awesome part of having ADHD, this enormous creativity, the ability to think on our feet, the ability to get things done in the moment. Yes, there is an enormous pile of shit that goes with it. And sometimes it is literal crap in the house, lying about, missed appointments. We talk about ADHD tax on things that we've forgotten to do or whatever it is. And there is a whole heap of crap that goes with it. But I also think that for me, especially with my kids, I have to think of this as a superpower and focus on the good parts of it. And I guess because I've gone through so much crap to get to this point, I'm like, well, if I'd had support back then, how amazing would I be now, knowing what I've achieved? So that's why I ask, what part of it is awesome for you? So I'm sorry to upset you, but maybe this is a good thing
it's a good,
think about.
If I thought about it like that, other people will be, right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking, it's not surprising that you sort of read some of these questions and you think,
is it challenging for you?
Yeah, and people sort of going, oh, well, we're all a little bit ADHD. That's something that I have a Facebook group and someone said it in there.
What?
And I thought, I'm not going to educate people about this. That's not why I'm here. That's not my barrow to push. But I did say to a couple of people, everyone forgets where they put their keys, right? She goes, yeah. And I said, but imagine if you did that. Or hang on, no, a better example. Everyone forgets what they were talking about or forgot what they were sort of doing, right? We all kind of go, what was I doing again? I said, imagine if you did that while you are doing the thing. Yes. And you do that multiple times a day.
Yes.
So I'll be in the middle of a task.
And then you're sitting there going.
And what? I think, and I say out loud, I say it all the time. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing right now? What were you doing? What were you doing? And I have to follow the breadcrumbs back to say, oh, that's right. You were going to find the URL link for that particular website to put it in there or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's this is it. 25 minutes.
These are the terribly hard things that we have to deal with each day. The snap, the brain snap, and you're just like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
And so it's not funny. I know people kind of make fun of it. It's not funny. But it's actually not very funny to me.
Yeah.
I can sort of understand why if you put me on a time-lapse video, it might look funny because I would be standing up mid-typing of an email and going somewhere else and be like, where are you going?
Yeah.
Well, because I don't feel like writing the email. Why don't you feel like writing the email? I have no idea.
Because our brain needs
maybe it's just boring me.
Else.
I don't know. It's probably just boring me. So that's kind of, because I'm in the middle of it. It is a massive
challenge.
And because I'm still in the middle of that diagnosis journey, in Australia, it's hard to get to a psychiatrist. Some of them have got waiting lists of 6 months.
This is true, especially after COVID. It's got even worse.
I made the decision with my GP to go and see a psychologist first, a clinical psychologist. And I did my diagnosis with her. And I'm having some coaching with an American ADHD coach, which is interesting. Like, I think I could be a difficult person to coach.
I think we all are.
That's not my. I sort of feel sorry for her because I think it might be hard to coach me. But anyway, and I'll see the psychiatrist when I can see the psychiatrist, right?
Yeah. Well, I was quite lucky that way because I had a psychologist and I'd been seeing her for a while because I'd had a really rough year in, let me think, it was when Kenzie started school, 2019. Yeah. By the end of that year, I was completely burnt out, which now I can see as an ADHD issue. So I went to see a psychologist and she started helping and it was okay. And then after my daughter was diagnosed with ADHD, I was reading more into what it's like for girls. I want to be her advocate. I don't want her to, have to struggle. So that led me to reading about women with ADHD. And then that led to me doing self-testing, which you've probably done as well. And I was like, that's me. I've got ADHD. So I said to my psychologist, pretty sure I've got ADHD. And she was like, no, there's no way you've got ADHD.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, well, I'm making an appointment anyway. So I went to my GP. So I'd made the appointment and then went to the GP. And I thought, well, if I don't get money back from Medicare for this, so be it. I need to do this. And it wasn't my usual GP. It was another doctor in the practice. And he said, yeah, absolutely. And he was great. He says, I know it might not be an easy path to take. He says, but having that diagnosis will open so many doors for you, will give you so many answers, and will make a massive difference in your life. And I think he's right. It's allowed me to sort of put a stamp on my issues, give it a name. And, as Tina had said last week, and we've always had ADHD. It's just that we've only just recently, got that label. So, we've dealt with this all our lives, whether we've realized it or not. So for you, do you think having the label of ADHD has made it harder for you to accept, or easier to?
I think probably easier.
And
I think
giving yourself a bit more grace.
Yeah. But also, I don't want to use it as an excuse, but it kind of is. And I'm still in that throes of, okay, the old story's still going to exist for a long time, because I'm old, Matt. Like, shit, I'm going to be 55 in September, right? So I think, well, okay, the Dr. Barkley, who you've probably listened to a little bit, because he's quite academic, so I haven't listened to a lot of his stuff, but I heard someone else interview him on a podcast for women, and it was really amazing. And he was saying how there is a direct link between estrogen and ADHD symptoms.
Wow.
And that the girls' symptoms are greater during puberty than they would be at primary school. And that women who are either post-pregnancy or perimenopausal, their symptoms will be greater as well.
Well, hello,
because that really,
because I'm a later in life mum. I had my son just before I turned 41. I had my daughter at 42. So I had postnatal depression from him because we had a really difficult birth, and PTSD. Then I fell pregnant quickly after that. And I had 2 children, very close in age. One of them incredibly unsettled because she wasn't sleeping properly because she has ADHD, and no family here in Australia. And I just, And that's what my psychiatrist said to me. He says, many women get their diagnosis post-children because that is when the wheels fall off. And I can see it happening also perimenopause as well, because your hormones
absolutely
are
100%.
mess.
And I'm still sort of I'm nearly through the other end, but I'm like, well, no wonder I failed to launch so many times with my business. But then I'm like, hang on, Denise Duffield Thomas has it, Leonie Dawson has it, Mel Robbins has it. There's a number of very successful entrepreneurs have ADHD, and I'm like, hang on a minute though. They've nearly always, I'm pretty sure, they all have really helpful partners who don't have ADHD that are helping them, and I don't have one. And they've got a team. They were smart enough in a business acumen sense to get support straight away for the stuff that they didn't want to do.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes a big difference for us.
That has really helped me rethink, okay, playing to your strengths looks like this. So keep doing that. But if the stuff that brings me joy, someone else can help me with the admin of that, then I would do that too, which is the
and if you're in the position to do that, that's totally what you should do. I mean, me and figures don't work. So I have a friend that's a bookkeeper, and I have an accountant, so I just pass that stuff over. I've got a marketing and background and writing and all that, so I can do all of that. But me in tech, no. But my husband's in IT, so if I ever need some sort of help with tech, I can ask him. But I was really proud of myself this week because I downloaded an editing program, watched a YouTube video, and taught myself. But usually I'd be like that. Too hard, because my brain doesn't work that way. And I think I've accepted that quite a long time ago, that you've got your strengths. Everybody's got their strengths. But our weaknesses, we really just can't deal with.
That's different, isn't it?
It's overwhelming for us. Yeah.
You know how you said, how did it sort of, what symptoms came out, or when did I notice it? One of the things that I had noticed time and time again and again, I'm not 100% sure this is an ADHD thing, but if I'm a quick decision maker, which is, but if you put me in too many meetings with people, I'm in a business networking group, and I actually said out loud in a meeting, will someone please make a decision? Because I am constantly adapting my style to suit your need to take too long. Will someone adapt their style for me, please? Because this is actually killing me. And I'm leaving the meeting. That's how bad it is. And I'm like, oh. And I said to one of them, you know, that some of us really struggle getting feedback.
Yeah.
That's very, very real and very true for me. That's a really big problem for me. It has been always. And I was sat in a meeting and somebody said something about me. And I'm like, I'm actually here in the meeting. You know that, right? And they said, well, yes, but, you know, we're just talking about the incident that happened. I said, do not talk about me in front of other people. And I left the meeting. This is an online meeting.
Yeah.
And I was shocked that people didn't understand why that was not okay.
That's not okay.
And so
that's
there's this advocacy for ourselves that starts to happen. And I feel like as a community, being able to choose our words to explain what we need is going to be a game changer.
Yes.
So instead of losing my mind and crying, which I have done in meetings before, I just said, will someone please adapt their style for me once in a while? Because I am not sitting in these meetings any longer. If you are, I'm the one who constantly has to make sacrifices. Here's the decision. We've actually already talked about it. 3 of you have agreed with it.
Let's just do it.
That's the decision. And they're like, oh, yeah, but what about this? And what about? And so I come across as, I don't know, some hard ass.
Yeah, I do too.
Compassionate person, but that's not what I mean. I'm like,
but you know what? I don't think it's a bad thing. As women, we tend to be talked over, walked over, dismissed, all of those things. And people get a fright when they start talking to me about stuff like that. And I think, you know, it's part of, I actually do think that can be part of ADHD. We don't have that filter there.
No, that's right. We are impulsive in the way that we
and
respond. And being impulsive is okay because that's natural. I do that all the time, but I don't want to get in trouble for it. So when I think, okay, what is a way to regulate that impulsivity that says what I want to say in a more assertive way without being
a bitch,
so emotional or so? Yeah, I feel like that's going to be I think that'll be a great game changer for most of us if we are able to express
what we need.
Real terms. Okay, in my job, I can create an amazing communication strategy for your whole training, for your whole team, but don't make me put it in a document. I'm not putting it anywhere. And I used to waste days and days and days panicking about not being able to get a document right and some symbol, you know, some bloody diagrams.
So do you outsource that now?
I don't need to do that.
Yeah,
someone else can do that. You know,
play to your strengths. But
I'm starting to. I think that's been the biggest outcome of all this for me so far is identifying my strengths in a much clearer way.
Yeah,
and being able to say it's okay that you don't want to do the documentation. Someone else can do that.
Exactly. And this is again what I feel is the accidentally awesome side of it. It's like we are so good at doing whatever it is our strengths are, and we just need to let go of the rest of it. You know, embrace our awesomeness for what it is. Your creativity, your spark, you know, the way that you can put things together, and, you know, let go of the other things and let somebody else deal with that, because we'll never be able to do it.
No, you can try. And actually, that's one of the most important points you've made, I think, in this conversation, is that everyone should play to their strengths, right?
Yes.
Everyone can say to you, "Oh, Lorna, I don't like doing documentation either, but I do it." And it's like, no, it's not. It's not actually about not wanting to do it. We cannot do it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And I said to somebody, when I said, I want you to just try and understand that when the figures are in front of me, or, you know, like let's say the bass is due, it is literally like it doesn't exist in my universe. It's not
your
even
brain
in my
explodes.
It's absolutely nowhere, and I just don't do it. And I've been 2 years behind. I've been nearly 3 years behind.
And that's why we have accountants to do all that. Just
and that's
pass
why
it
it's
over,
like,
tell me what I need to pay, and then it's done.
It's more extreme than the average bear, just sort of
it is. I mean, this is the thing. We all have traits that we can identify with for ADHD, but ours are more extreme, as you said before. You know, it's like you forgot your keys, but have you forgot what you're doing when you're typing something? You know, we all have the traits to a lesser extent, but for us, it is chronic.
And what is the impact? What impact has that had on your life?
And it's that chronic side of it that has the impact, and that's what builds up. And, you know, constantly being told, no, you're too this, you're too that, you're not enough of this, you're not enough of that. That impairs us as well.
Yeah, I feel like for particularly older women our age that are just sort of coming into understanding this a bit more have had that many more decades of that reinforcement of, oh my God, you are so messy.
Yeah.
Like, why haven't you rung the mechanic? Because I don't think of the mechanic. It's like he doesn't exist to me. Don't you understand?
This is it. I've actually got, this is my weekly to-do list.
Yeah.
And if it's not on there, it's not getting done.
No, exactly.
Simple as that.
And you can't put
so
much
it might not get done.
Exactly. And you can't put everything on the to-do list, or you'd be overwhelmed and you'd do nothing.
This is the most important stuff. The stuff that I can't forget. I can ignore for a while, but I can't forget. And it's tough. So now that you have ADHD, have you tried medication? Is that a path you went down, or have you just said, no, I'm going to skills rather than pills?
I absolutely 100% want whatever medication someone is willing to give me.
I was the same. Give me the pills.
I would love to see what difference, how much more awesome I can actually be. The issue, of course, is that I have to get in front of a psychiatrist, and I have not been able to do that yet.
Of course, and you don't have your official diagnosis.
I've also heard, so I've got the clinical psychologist's report, and you know, the what are they called? Centrelink accept that if that was part of a bigger, if there were other diagnoses, that would be accepted as part of that as well. And that's enough for me to, you know, accept that that is the truth. However, the GP is like, I do want you to see a psychiatrist. I said, well, I think I'm on the waiting list, but I haven't heard from them. And then I'm thinking, what did he write about me in the referral? Did he say enough? Like, do I have to ring them back and go, it's really bad. Like, it's really, really bad. Please.
I really need your help. They'll do their own assessment of you anyway. They'll read the report, but they still assess you.
When you think about medication, there's 2 people I know that are on medication at the moment. One of them hasn't slept for 2 days because she's obviously on the wrong dose.
Yeah.
The implication of taking something and either sleeping for a month or not sleeping for 3 weeks is actually quite nerve-wracking to me. Like, that will,
it is.
I won't be able to pay the rent if I can't work, kind of thing.
Yes. That's why they want to start you very, very small. I had a day last week that I woke up at 3 a.m, couldn't get back to sleep. And I think it's because I think I'd increased my medication slightly, like a tiny amount, in line with what the psychiatrist had told me to do. And I was just like, okay, that was obviously way too much for me, and I won't be doing that again for a while.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yes, I agree. I mean, I was very lucky. I got in to see, I did it telehealth. So the psychiatrist quite reasonably quickly, I did book it in advance because I wanted to wait until the kids were back at school after holidays and whatnot. So I was very lucky doing that, but I paid for that privately. I got a little bit back off Medicare. But yeah, it's made a massive difference to me getting the medication. It's actually made my head quiet. So the hyperactivity for me is not just all this movement and touching things and whatnot. I have it in my head as well.
quietening your mind. So
yes,
I've always said that I have a song, whatever the hell the song is for that night.
Yeah.
If even there is a slight consciousness during the night of waking up, that song, whatever it is, it's the random, I don't even know what song it might be, will keep playing, and the recurring thoughts happen all. So that having that busy mind is exhausting.
It is.
And so we find other ways to, yes, we could probably meditate or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah. That's how I started writing stories, because my head would be so busy and I'd be like, right, I need to do something positive with this. And I just started writing stories in my head. And then, putting them down on paper.
Yes.
So we're almost up to our time.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's an easy way of doing it. We're almost up to our time. I don't want to keep you too much longer. My last question for you is, do you have any hacks, any ADHD hacks that you use that you could share with us?
Well, I use my whiteboard a lot. So Lorna's going to be able to see my whiteboard because it's just
I can. Yep. There we are.
It's usually one thing, like something very clearly, you have to achieve this one thing today, and that's narrowing down what I have to do in a day has been really helpful as well.
So is it like a brain dump for one task?
So getting everything, and I use a mind map app on my
that's a good
iPad,
idea.
so that every thought that pops into my head about this particular thing, so I can't forget stuff, it's all there, and I might not even ever look at it. I might not even look at it again. I might not need it again.
But sometimes just getting that out of your head is what you need. I'll get the link to that from you, and we can pop it in the notes as well.
Yeah, it's I'll have to find the name. I can't remember. Oh, and it's called Simple Mind, the app.
Oh, right, yes.
It's really, really good. And the other thing has been having more clocks around me. So I've got
Tina had mentioned that last week as well.
2 clocks on my desk, because I don't look at my phone enough to know what the time is. And I think I sort of need to stick to some just really simple things. And so for me, it's, what is the next thing? What is the next thing that you have to do for this project or this thing? Just one. What is a logical next step? Try not to jump too far ahead, because that's obviously, a lot of us will do that, where we're five steps in.
That can be where the stress comes in.
And
we forget to do things and overwhelm. And
all you got to do is send that meeting request to the client for next Monday. That's it. And then tomorrow I'll probably send them an agenda or something, because it unfolds. I do those meetings. I don't really have an agenda, but I know they want an agenda. So just the next logical step is always really useful for me. It's like a domino, because if I do that thing, then the next thing becomes obvious, and the next thing, and it helps me avoid thinking so far in advance that I'm then overwhelmed that, I'm not going to.
So that's almost the opposite of a brain dump. So you use a brain dump to get it all out of your head, and you just pick one little thing and do that.
What's the logical very next step that has to happen for this thing to go ahead? Update the description on my Facebook group. Great, done, ticked. Now what do you need to do? Oh, well, I was going to look at the cover photo. Do I need to change that? And each step, just all I have in my mind consciously is one thing. So I don't know if everybody else does this, but you know how we rehearse in our head a lot. I was I'll before I go to sleep, I just say 3, I'll go Joe Panuzzo, Garth Chippendale, so on. So like the 3 names of the people who I have something that I have to do for them as soon as I get out of bed in the morning, like the very first things. So I don't forget that, because it really doesn't matter if I've put reminders in, because I actually don't really look at them and I forget that I've put them in. And
well, I have everything in my phone. I have my kids' medication in the phone. I have all the meetings in the phone. And I found that using alarms for those sort of things have been really helpful for me. And that was before I knew I had ADHD. I was just like, I can't remember to do all this.
Yeah, it just falls out of my head. I don't know where it goes.
What can I do to help myself? And then I remembered, I can set a phone alarm for this. And yeah, so I make sure my kids have their medication when they need it. I might forget to take my own, but that's, that's me. They don't have that choice.
Can I give you one more? Can I give you one more?
Yes, of course. All of them.
So, because I'm in digital marketing, I believe wholeheartedly that if you have ADHD, you are capable of creating content in the moment. And in fact, we should be doing it in the moment. So yes. Often I use my notes app and I'll come up with ideas for posts and I put them in the notes app and then I don't do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I catch myself doing that, I'm like, hang on, that's actually a really good idea. Just do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it now. Because the content you create in the moment when you feel inspired is always going to be more authentic and
do you know, I think that's so
just do it. Just do it in the moment. Don't over plan your social content because you will not go back and do it.
Sorry, here's my puppy.
Oh my God, look at the size of him.
Yes. Okay, down you get, darling. Good girl. Yes, I know it's that time of day. She wants a walk. That's why she's coming to tell me. I know. Good girl. Go and sit down nice. Sorry about that.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I did a YouTube video about my journal because I use journaling quite a bit just to get things out of my head. It's like your whiteboard, I suppose, but on a personal way. And yeah, I kind of wrote down a list of things I wanted to say. I recorded that video about 4 times. And then I threw the bit of paper away and just went with it. And I was like, I can't do a script. Scripts don't work for me.
No, they're a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, I can guess some people might need them, but I'm better off just going with the flow and running with the way my head works. So,
and that's what I've started saying. If you're the sort of person who wants to plan your videos on big pieces of paper around your office and never actually record one, then working with me is actually going to be stressful for you.
Yeah, because you just do it.
I can hear you saying the words, just do it now. Just go and do it now. Press record on your phone and do it right now.
Exactly.
And for most of, for the people in an ADHD community, they'll be like, yeah, I'm willing to go with that because I know how to do that. I know how to do things in the moment.
Yeah. So have you thought about maybe trying to tailor your business to other people with ADHD? So it's...
No. So have I thought of doing what? Sorry,
have you thought of tailoring your business so you have more clients with ADHD? Because that
I'm not
might
a coach,
work.
So I really want to be careful.
Yeah.
That my whole business model isn't around ADHD, but I do understand that many women entrepreneurs have ADHD and they really struggle with promoting their businesses and getting their content out there. When my fast content method, I absolutely love it. And I tell everyone about it. And if some people are brave enough to give it a go, but I think people with ADHD would probably really get it even more.
Yeah, they would jump at it. I'll put a link to all of this in the notes so people can look up your business and see what you have to offer, because I had a read through it before we started chatting and I was just like, oh, I get it. Yeah, that would work. So yeah. But anyway, I will say goodbye to you just now. I don't want to because we're having such a lovely chat. I'm loving talking to you. And I'm really sorry that question upset you or challenged you.
No, I think that it's a good thing because I can't be the only one that says, where does one thing start? And Jenny, where is Jenny and what is ADHD is there a line in between? And I was challenged by it. I'm not going to say I was like, and I think it's an important question, an important answer, because I can't be the only one that felt like that.
No, because I think, as I say in this video, I think it gets such a bad rap, ADHD. We're the brunt of a lot of jokes, it's not taken seriously by a lot of people. And it's, I think the only way that we can counter that is by saying, actually, this is a bloody good thing to have at times. These are my strengths and I wouldn't have this without ADHD. So, I think we've just got to maybe flip our mind with it, which is maybe not an easy thing for some people to do. I'm a very rebellious kind of person. I've always been the kind of person where I'm like, well, you can't tell me what to do. So you're not going to tell me that ADHD is terrible, because I know it's not. And from that, I have sort of went, and I can't tell my kids that. Oh yeah, it's an awful thing to have. Yeah, it's tricky, but you know what? It's bloody good.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So I am feeling that positivity about
good.
All the things. Playing to my strengths are actually even stronger than I thought they were, probably, because I've been watering things down, as most of us do.
Yeah, we do. We have that whole imposter syndrome, and I can't be that. Surely everybody's this good at it, and no, they're not.
Yeah. No,
these
they're
are
not. You're right.
Phenomenal strengths that we have. It can just sometimes take us a bit longer to harness them.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Jenny, for inviting me to have the conversation. That was great.
It has been so much fun. And I'll put all the links to everything we've chatted about so people can see. And have a great rest of the day, and I'll speak to you soon.
See ya.
Bye-bye.